Yeah, we can start, Niru.
Okay, a very good evening to everyone. First of all, let me introduce myself. Dr. Angie Nehru, working as an assistant professor in Moirang College, Moirang. Um, I'm very happy that we're organizing this fifth day. So I welcome you to this Yuwa Shakti Abhiyan organized by Manipur Shakti. At the very outset, I request President Manipur Shakti, Professor Asa Gupta, to kindly start our program with a word of prayer.
Thank you, Niru. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Ishavasya Midam Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bhunjitha Magradha Kasya Svidhanam Vidyam cha avidyam cha yastadvedo bhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya amrita ashnute. Thank you. Over to Niru. Over to Niru.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am, for your word of prayer. I would like to introduce our Madam Gayathri Subramaniam Shrinivas, who is a resource person for today's program. Welcome, ma'am. And then I welcome all the invitees, team members, and all the participants uh, of this function. First of all, let me briefly highlight what is all about Shakti to some of us. Shakti is a national movement for women, especially for their empowerment through the applications of science and technology and innovations. Yuwa Shakti Abhiyan is a youth transformation program for national Shakti, ensuring personality development of youth through its program. Uh, this is a brief headlines about all about Shakti and Yuva Shakti. So now I request Dr. Benita to kindly introduce and read about the biodata of our today's speaker. So I give time for Dr. Benita.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now I have to read biodata of Gayathri Subramaniam Shrinivas. Gayathri Subramaniam Shrinivas is the founder of educational institution English Guidance located at Sadapur, Maharashtra. She worked in CBSE affiliated school from 2015 to 2020. Now she works independently for her educational institution English Guidance that train students in English, both communicatively and academically, as well as in her existing setup. Considering its importance in modern life, her effort in the regard has been to bridge the gap between knowledge and understanding and between theory and practice. Gayathri was earlier a banker and joined the banking industry with the Bank of Punjab Limited in January 2005. Therefore, she joined Axis Bank. She occupied various positions like executive branch operation from April 2006 to May 2008, deputy managers in retail branch banking from May 2008 to March 2010, and managers in credit management centers from April 2010 to May 2011, and finally become manager in priority banking. There was promoted consistently as and when due. Her academic career was bright, obtaining position and rank in senior secondary examination BCom and the B.Ed, and was awarded with trophy for scoring the highest mark. Now I am hand over to the Subramaniam, Gayathri Subramaniam. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, I would like to acknowledge, thank you so much, Asha ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to be a part of Shakti, Yuwa Shakti Abhiyan. At the same time, I would also like to thank my teacher here, Dr. Shashi Agarwal, who took out her time and joined this meeting with us. And also, I would definitely like to mention Mr. V.K. Iyer, who is joining all the way from Nagpur. Now, moral education as such is a topic about which, when we speak as educators, we understand the importance of moral education and why it is so important as we see children growing in front of us. So we automatically understand the importance of moral education. But as we have seen, usually when we say education, what rings in the minds of most of us is whether a child would find a good career, whether the youth of our country, they would be employed through that education or not. So in that direction, we see that mostly stress is laid on vocational courses, professional courses, and post-graduation courses, etc. And somewhere, sometimes, moral education takes a back seat. However, this particular presentation which we are organizing and for the benefit of the youth as such, it focuses on how youth can use moral education and how, if youth are educated morally in terms of values, then how it would benefit the society in general, a country in general, and internationally as well. So this basic topic is perspectives of moral education in today's world, and it deals with how the world sees moral education. Does it accord it that sort of importance which it should? Has it realized the value of moral education, and how? Now, to understand much about moral education, I think it would be imperative to define moral education. So, moral education, in a practical sense, it refers to helping children acquire those virtues or moral habits that will help them individually live good lives and at the same time become productive, contributing members of their communities. So, here we see that it refers to basically acquiring some qualities, those qualities or virtues or moral habits which help people to live individually good lives. So there are two aspects of moral education which we understand. One aspect is that which helps a person individually, and the other which helps the community. Similarly, we also can understand that moral education, it should contribute not only to students as individuals, but it should also contribute to a social cohesive society. In the society, basically, there are many sections, particularly in India, in such a diverse country, we have many such sections wherein we have caste differences, religious differences, language differences. So if moral education is laid emphasis on, so then it would help in the social cohesion, which would solve many of our problems and actually create or pave the way for development. Now, the word moral, it comes from a Latin root, mors or moris, and it means the code and customs of people. It says that it is the social glue that defines how individuals should live together. So morality is basically about how we conduct ourselves as a community and help each other grow. Now let us see what the world says about moral education. So I've made a very small research sort of. So when Madam Dr. Asha Gupta gave me this opportunity, I thought that we should do something in which we could present how the world considers this, according as, because all of us are mostly educators, so we know how moral education is taken care of in India. So we should also know about the world. So just a small information which is added over here. So the first thing which the first country which I chose was UAE, because in UAE, as we all know, we don't have a democracy there. So let us see what the moral education entails for them. So these are the basic objectives which they found for moral, for in case of moral education. The first thing is take care of themselves in addition to society and effective participation. So basically, moral education in the United Arab Emirates, they talk about children taking care of themselves as well as their society and their effective participation in the society. These things are extremely important in case of moral education. So the individual as well as society, something which is consistent with the definition of moral education. Now, the next is knowledge about the history and governance of UAE. So obviously they want Emirates to know about, the Emirate children to know about the history and governance, how the country is governed, which we also do in case we have our civics textbooks or political science textbooks in our country, which tell about children about how the governance takes place. Now, tradition and symbols. This is a very important part of the UAE moral education. So they talk about their tradition, their long-term tradition, and symbols which their religion entails. Now, there was a particular aspect over here, which is that family would be actively involved in the school community. This is it is placed as a very important part in their moral education curriculum, that family has to be actually involved with the school in order to inculcate these values. So it goes back to the time when we used to say that value education is basically the department of the family, and the school can only play a little part in it. Now, basically, where does this thought process come from? So basically, UAE, as we know, is a country in which the original citizens are lesser and the immigrants are more. So their idea is that the immigrants should understand UAE as a country, and they should understand it as their own country. They should imbibe the cultures, traditions, and symbols that their country entails, and at the same time, they should know about the religion also, which is popular in their country. So over here, we can see that UAE education, it has changed several times in response to these shifts, right? And at the same time, schools in UAE, they provide lessons in Islamic studies for Muslims. Arabic language is compulsory for non-speakers from grade 1 to grade 9. So this can make us understand that they want their culture to be appreciated by the other immigrants who come and stay there. As such, we can see that though they have a good moral education structure, yet formal teaching of universal human values is missing here. So there is more emphasis on their tradition, culture, and religion than the human or universal values which we talk about. Okay, now I move to an entirely different country, a country from the West, that is USA. So usually we are accused of aping USA in most of the cases. So we say that Indians around here, they ape Western culture. People who are well-read, they usually like to migrate to the USA in search of good jobs. So many a times, due to the vast immigration which happens, of Indian citizens, students for college. So again, we see an emphasis which falls on the career. And then to help students become critical thinkers, to help students compete in a global marketplace. So in all these places, we see that the basic emphasis is on children completing college, get a certificate, and it is done. But moral education or value education is actually a lifelong approach. It cannot be handled in the way other subjects are taught. So that is the major problem which educators find in the practices in the US. Now, there are many approaches or many things which are worth consideration here. The first is that value of the month approach. Now, value of the month approach is a great approach. They promote one value each month. And by this particular value, every person in that particular school is supposed to follow that value. It could be gratitude. It could be thankfulness. It could be care, kindness. One particular virtue is selected, and that is practiced every month. Now, the second is no put down projects. In the US, behavioral problems are on a great high, because of which it has been identified everywhere, and teachers and parents alike are really concerned about this. Some parents, in fact, are so concerned that they send their children all over to Japan to get educated, just because they find the necessity of including moral education among the other subjects. So this no put down projects are basically projects wherein children are taught not to. Now, there are basically mediation and conflict resolution skills also which are taught, and those are also quite important, but they are more important as such in order to resolve small conflicts between students, and particularly among teen students, because that sometimes leads to greater issues. Now, basically, there are some problems of moral education which have been highlighted in the US as such. The first problem is, disruptive behavior. That becomes a significant issue here for teachers. Distracting others, seeking attention, calling out in class, all these reasons are contributing to the disruptive behavior, which is very much seen in schools in particular. Now, 17% of the teachers, they claim that they have lost more than 4 hours of teaching time per week due to such kind of disruptive behavior. We can imagine as teachers ourselves, when students are already, burdened with a huge curriculum, maths, science, information practices and whatnot. And on top of it, they are running a program on character education, but they are losing out at least 4 or more hours per week just because of disruptive behavior. So the focus shifts from the character education and it lands on the more important, so-called important subjects. So because of that also, they are unable to focus on moral education as such. Now, though 90% of Americans, they support values like honesty, democracy, acceptance, however, these things are not visible, so to say, on a society level. So these things, the character programs basically have been initiated and they have a good curriculum, but then it is very difficult to follow up. One of those problems due to which they are struggling with moral education is also that these programs are introduced much later in the school curriculum. Actually, when a child is inducted into the school, immediately if moral curriculum is introduced to the child, he or she takes it or absorbs it as a habit, which makes it easier for that child to continue the habit in later life. However, when a teen is all of a sudden taught the moral education values out of nowhere, the child fails to imbibe it, particularly when he or she is unable to see it in the society which he or she belongs to. So this is also counted as the major reason. Now, we have a quote here by the CEO of McDonnell Douglas, which is now Boeing. Now, he is the chairman of Character Education Partnership now in America. And he has quoted that with character-related fires blazing all around us, Americans need to recognize that we should be emphasizing good character in our young, as emphatically as we have been focusing on higher math and science test scores. So this itself says a big deal about how education has been viewed up in a capitalistic country like USA. So now even they are facing challenges with moral education. Now we come to the East. Japan is known as one of the countries which is technically much educated, much more advanced in all of East, particularly in Asia. Now, Japan's education system has been respected, and we all have read, I think, Ikigai books. We all follow it. Many of us have started following it as well. So that is the success of the principles that Japan has to offer to the world. So let us see how about the moral education, what they say about the moral education. So in Japan's education system, moral education plays a major role. This is very surprising considering the technological advancements that Japan has. So we expect that Japanese students would be starting off with maths and science as soon as they are born. However, I was very surprised when I read more about the moral education in Japan. Now, Japan's education ministry says that its goal is to cultivate students' morality, including moral mentality, judgment, engagement, and attitude, through all educational activities in school. This came as a very stark surprise, but at the same time, it also emphasizes how much Japan's education ministry is concerned about moral education. Whereas all other technically advanced countries, many other technically rich countries are focusing on other things, like how they would perform in the economic sphere. So basically, Japan's education ministry has a goal which speaks of morality, moral mentality, judgment, engagement, and attitude first, and then the other objectives. So this includes orderliness, mindfulness, hard work, fairness, harmony in relationship and with nature. Now, they say that according to the guidelines, at least one class hour per week is set aside for moral education. Now, this was earlier, but in 2018 onwards, they have a Dotoku program, which is moral education program. Now, it would be a full-fledged subject in elementary and junior high instead of the ungraded school activity it has been. So it would be a graded subject, that is a big thing, and at the same time they would be emphasizing this in the elementary and junior high. Now we see that moral education textbooks have been standardized, and each child will not be graded but will be evaluated subjectively, with the teacher making comments on each student's performance. Now we have seen that throughout that is a stark contrast between Japan and US. In US we have all objectively marked papers, and all the factors related to moral education are handled in an objective manner, in which it is difficult to assess the moral quality of the child. Whereas in case of Japan, the behavior of the student is taken into consideration. His performance is judged according to his daily behavior in class. That is a very big change that we see in between US and Japan. Now we see the practices which are there in Japan. So in Japanese schools, education is taught through ethical training and other life skills. The schools and teachers, they follow basic moral guidelines without enforcing their own personal beliefs. So there is no religious education, as we can see, and there is no a particular emphasis of how the teacher sees moral education. They have everything standardized. Now, some of the values that students are taught include how to respect the elderly, care for animals, respect parents, help those with disabilities, and cooperate with each other. So this plays a great role, and I think that this education system, personally, I feel that it is a lot. It has to come with the kind of situations that Japan has seen due to the Second World War. Now, however, besides these discussions, these elementary school children, they also take turns being in charge of cleaning the classroom after school, serving lunch, taking care of plants or school pets such as rabbit or fish. This is something which I found exceedingly good in the practices of Japan, because not only does it inculcate humility, it also teaches the quality of universality, which is missing in many education spheres that I have seen. Now we come to the last phase, but the last country that I have taken for the perspectives, and the country is Singapore. Now, we know that Singapore is a comparatively very young country, but it is very surprising as well as appreciable achievement that in OECD, among in its program, OECD has rated it many times among the top 5 highly ranked countries in educational outcomes. So having education policies is one thing, but coming up with educational outcomes is another. So I think it is a great achievement for Singapore to be such a young country and then having great educational outcomes. Now, the PISA, this student survey which has been taken, it is a ranking based on tests which are taken on 15-year-old children all across the world. So this is considered to be a considerable, it is considered to be a yardstick with which the children's, a country's education system is ranked. So according to that, I think Singapore is doing quite well. Now, these are the objectives at the primary school level that Singapore has. The objectives at the end of primary school level is, first of all, to be able to distinguish right from wrong. Now, right behavior and wrong behavior should be distinguished by the child. Then have to learn to share and put others first. Be able to build friendship with others. Have a lively curiosity about things. Be able to think for and express themselves. Take pride in their work. Have cultivated healthy habits and love Singapore. I'm obliged to say this, but it is the most easy way of making people understand about the objectives. The objectives are not presented in a very difficult manner. They are presented in a very easy format, but inculcating these values are very difficult. So they have presented such objectives, and they have started around 1991. Such kind of education, moral education, has been started only in 1991, which is, I think, the one among the most latest developments in comparison to the other countries. Now, practices in Singapore. The first thing is the curriculum time. we see that civics and moral education is taught 2 periods of the lower primary, P1 to P3, and 3 periods at the upper primary. Now here we see that 2 periods in a week, that is double than what Japan does, and 3 periods at the upper primary. So in the upper primary level, more emphasis is laid on moral education. And then we see that medium of instruction, this is one very great point which I found. The lessons are to be conducted in the official mother tongue languages, namely Malay, Chinese, and Tamil. Now, this is something which is really remarkable, because in all other places that we saw, the whichever medium the school belongs to, or whichever is the medium of instruction, mostly English, all the lessons are taught over there. So the fact that moral education has to be imbibed and not learned is very clearly present here. Next is assessment. So how do they assess the children on moral education? So first is that they have behavioral or conduct checklists. Then they have personal responses and answers which are given by a child in civics and moral education workbook. So we have 2 things here. First is the behavioral and conduct checklist, which is monitored by the teachers, and they check whether the child actually follows those kind of behavior which he is instructed to. And the second is their moral education workbook, in which they can write their personal responses. It is not objective type where a person has to choose among 4 options. They can write whatever they feel like and however they think. Now, simple projects that reflect understanding and grasp of moral concept, value, or principle, and where observation on how the children cooperate and behave in the group is made. So there are simple projects which are given just to see how the children behave in that situation. And based on that, it is observed that how the child has learned those moral values which are taught to him in the class. Now, in awarding the pupil final grades in civics and moral education, now they emphasize that consideration must be given to their participation in community involvement programs. So when they finally get their final grades, how much they have actually worked for the community, that plays a major role. So that is a very important factor which I found in practices which are taken up in Singapore, because finally a child, when he performs for the community, when he gets involved in such programs, that is the time that he realizes that he is a Yuwa. He is the future of a country. Otherwise, the child is simply aside, he just takes care of his family maybe, or himself. So the individual is not an isolated person. He is a part of a community. To make him understand in this ripe age, that is very, very important. And so I think the practices in Singapore have really reaped a lot of fruits for their future. Now I come to moral education in India. In fact, if we see that India has been a spiritual hub and we have taught the world, we were known as Jagat Guru, the teacher of the world at one point of time. And we have taught the world many spiritual practices. And also in many areas, we have been quite successful, like yoga and meditation. There are many people who have followed the Indian yoga, and we have also have the, now we also have the International Yoga Day as well. But then when it comes to moral education in India today, we have completely forgotten the Gurukul system till now. It is only the new education policy that it has come back. So earlier, now what is presently running on the era which has gone, it has not been great for moral education. This is somewhere also we can see this in the rising of crime rates, in the rising of all these problems which our youth is facing today. It may be drug abuse, which may be illiteracy to a great level, and it also leads to many other problems associated with mental health and physical health as well. So I think considering all those things in the new education policy, these things have been, there have been many initiatives, and I hope that the new education policy would definitely imbibe many good qualities from the entire world, as well as from our own spiritual wealth which we have. So the new education policy, it aims at producing engaged, productive, contributing citizens for building an equitable, inclusive, and pluralistic society. So we understand diversity, but we also understand that we are united and we are one. And if the youth is made to understand this, youth is made to understand their responsibilities, they can be engaged in civil and community work, then definitely our country can be built up. And because of that, vocational education has been given a very main position in the new education policy, along with moral education. And the policy also holds dear the tradition of Shanti Niketan, where students were imparted education and life skill and human values by being close to nature. So slowly and slowly, we see that CBSE and other boards have started imbibing these values. We still have many projects which children do, and which integrate 2 or 3 subjects. We have integrated art projects and integrated science projects, wherein children do understand the ecological importance of things, and as well as how our folk culture and our culture in the villages, they have also emphasized the same thing. So such kind of projects are coming up. Many students have started doing such projects and imbibing these traits. Now the third is it focuses on imparting value based education to our youth. Now, new education policy is also based on essential and important life skills, ethics, human and constitutional values. Now, we have seen that we had a subject called life skills a few years ago, but now it has been taken up to a higher level. Not only do we have life skills, we also have many ethical values and constitutional values along with that. So, these values are empathy, then respect for others, cleanliness, which also voices or reiterates the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, which had started a few years before. Then respect for public property, scientific temper, liberty, responsibility, pluralism, equality, and justice. So these are the values which are essential in a place like India, where we all need to emphasize on equality and justice, because we are a democracy driven country. So these values are necessary for our youth, and it is also necessary for a peaceful and happy society. Now, the policy also teaches them the art of communication, cooperation, teamwork, and resilience. All these things, they are essential for their holistic development. If the youth of the country has to develop them in future, so first of all, they should be masters in the art of communication. When they communicate with others, that is when they understand others' problems. They understand how how to negotiate things and how to be persuasive, particularly in cases where morality is involved. Also, cooperation and teamwork are essential skills. So if we have to if we think of increasing the manufacturing sector or forming more entrepreneurs out of our Yuwa, then obviously they should know the essence of cooperation and teamwork. They should be resilient towards the differences or the situations that they meet. These are the need of the hour for the young generation today. Now, the new education policy, it also will develop knowledge, skills, values, and dispositions that support responsible responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development, and living, and global well-being, thereby replicating a truly global citizen. Now, we have, at one point of time, we used to talk about nationalism. Now we have graduated a little, and we are talking about internationalism, which originally our spiritual texts emphasized. So that is why our Bhagavad Gita is celebrated as a universal text, because it has always emphasized internationalism and always emphasized on people becoming a good global citizen. As well as a good citizen for the country, it's also important to be a good global citizen. So when we talk about our commitments that we take up with responsibility towards human rights and with responsibility towards sustainable development, it is the need of the hour, not only for India, but also for the world. So today we are talking about ecological intelligence. We are talking about how we can sustain the environment, no matter how many conferences we have, but we cannot see any success unless the young generation imbibes these qualities and they begin to develop these habits of that contribute towards this sustainable development. So I think the new education policy has come as a fresh dawn to us in terms of the moral education which can be carried on, and which would definitely help the youth to imbibe a certain moral standard, and it would also encourage the coming generations. So as they see the youth doing responsibly committing themselves to these rights, it would also imbibe the ones who are coming up to embrace those values. some perspectives which I found, from the world, and some perspectives which have, been integrated from a little bit of the knowledge that we have. So I have included Dr. K.V. Puttappa, who is also known as Kuvempu, and he is a great Kannada poet as well. So he had written some objectives in moral education which are famous throughout the world. Now, he gave just 5 mantras and 7 sutras. So I'm just because we have a shortage of time, so I'm basically concentrating on the 5 mantras that he gave. The first is Manuja Mata, which means let us be a universal entity. Now, it is something very surprising that we have had this philosophy since so long, and our culture has always emphasized to be a universal entity, not a personal entity, a family person, or a national person, but a universal person. The second is Vishwapatha. He says that relationships, they should be unifying, not dividing. So when we talk about relationships in the family, they should unite us into a family. When we talk about relationships as a country citizen, it should unify us as a country. And when we talk about relationships with different parts of the world, they should unify us. They should not divide us. So the talk about caste, religion, it should be completely avoided out of moral education. So that then only moral education would be able to be a success. So when we see relationships as a uniting force, only then will we like to stay in them. Now, the next objective of moral education is Sarvodaya. Now, welfare of all, that should be the goal. So it should not be welfare of one in place of the another. So Sarvodaya is a very important objective in moral education, which we need to understand. Right now, we are seeing the fight among the great superpowers, directly and indirectly, and we are seeing the fight between Russia and Ukraine, and how many lives are lost, and what are the economic consequences and economic reasons for that. So eventually, one country benefiting on cost of the other is not what we are looking forward in education. Moral education should be about how everybody can be benefited and how to create a win-win situation for everyone. The next is Samanvaya. Samanvaya is basically cooperation, unity, and harmony. So we can have a good country, we can have prosperity and wellness only if all of us have this samanvaya or harmony. If one part goes away on one side and the other doesn't actually relate to it, then we cannot have this harmony between us. So it is important that those things which distinguish among people, they should be kept aside, and we should always look for the points which unite us. The next is Purna Drishti. This is a very important factor in a child's life, particularly in the life of a youth. Now, we should look at entire humanity as one. When we start segregating the humanity on the basis of countries, citizenship, or on the basis of, white or black, or on the basis of different aspects, economically well off and not well off. So that is where there are clashes, and those clashes disturb the progress of a country. So when we have a Purna Drishti, when we look at the entire humanity as one, it is only then that we can think about the world, and we can solve such big problems as the problems with our ecology, or problems with international terrorism, or problems that have pervaded us, social, religious, cultural, all sorts of problems can be solved if a person has Purna Drishti. And if our moral education is able to give that objective, then I think that most of our problems would be solved. Now we have K. William. K. William has also identified some primary moral traits which should be present in everybody, and primary moral attitudes which should be cultivated. Now, primary moral traits are basically make right moral judgments. So when there is a question on what is prevalent and what is right, many of us choose prevalent, particularly among the teens. There is a greater chance of them going towards what their friends say instead of doing what is right. So this prevalence should be checked. So we have to ask, or we have to cultivate these values in such a way that the child is encouraged to make the right decisions instead of making the decision which is popular. The second is postpone gratification of desire. I think in this factor, our young generation has to learn a lot. Because of the modern world, and because we are economically better off than our previous generations, I think children have everything that they demand before they ask. So because of this, the gratification is immediate, and when there cannot be an immediate gratification of desire, then it leads to violent behavior, it leads to many problems, and the child is unable to adjust without what it without the situations or without the things which it desires. So this should be a very important part of moral education. The third is treat other human beings with dignity. So whether it would be a scavenger, whether it would be a maintenance worker, or a vegetable vendor, or everybody, if we are able to treat the other human being as with the same dignity, it is only then that we could be called as a good moral citizen. So these values they go a long way in determining a moral character. The fourth is to be flexible in making moral judgment, not as per law, but as per spirit. We have seen that law, along with many other things, is a melting pot. Many of our own laws have been changed, and even the constitution has been modified wherever it has been seen interfering with the basic rights of certain humans. So I think the same thing should be with an individual also. What is right should be seen, and that has to be emphasized. The next is to be creative and dynamic in moral decisions. That is to decide issues rationally and not like a despot. Now, we cannot say that in a particular situation, one thing may be correct, but it may not be correct in another situation. So we cannot teach moral education like a despot, and a child also cannot follow it like let us say, like an autocrat. A moral issue is sometimes also a social issue in the mix. So somewhere we have to find a creative solution where the morality prevails, and at the same time it is also socially acceptable. Both the things there should be a combination or harmony between both. Now we come to the primary moral attitudes. So they are, first of all, autonomy. An individual should be self-reliant. He should not be completely dependent on others. A person who is dependent on others is incapable of taking any decision. So I think now we have moved to the new approaches. The first approach is the infusion approach. Now, infusion approach has been highly emphasized, and it has been highly advocated in the United States as well, in their character education program. Now, what it means to say is that the entire school education, it should be not based on what the child learns in the classroom alone. The entire school should give him an experience of it. So what they mean to say is that rather than simply adding to character education programs, the school environment itself should teach a lot of things to the child. For example, if we want the child to be humble, then the school's mission statement, for example, should state that. What is the priority? What is the character that they are looking at, or what sort of character do they want to create among their own children? So when children who are teens, they look up at the school's mission statement, so they do identify that what is the sort of character which will be appreciated, and they would definitely go in for that sort of character, and the school should give that feeling. For instance, if they want the child to be to appreciate good work, then at the same time there should be no favoritism in the school itself. The school should present an opportunity and show very clearly that merit is appreciated there, for example, or hard work or efforts are appreciated. So even when a child is asked to do service training, so their service training wise, they should be appreciated for the good service that they do. And at the same time, the other members of the school should also be seen doing that sort of service. So when the school totally gives the child or it creates an experience which which resonates with the child's vision as well, it is then that moral education would truly be successful. So that is one of the infusion approach. That is one of the approaches which is known as the infusion approach. So they want to infuse the necessary characteristics into the child instead of simply pushing it. So it is basically recovery, recasting, creating of a school's mission statement, for example. It could tell that administrators, teachers and staff, they should be hired with good character. When we emphasize good character, then even the teachers, the members of the school, those things should be also emphasized in them. So totally the child gets an experience, and this is how we should be. So service learning basically has been seen in Japan and Singapore, that because of the service, because of the child starting up with services, starting up himself giving services, going against or going by the norms of what has been taught to him. So these the way he gives service to, let us say, animals, or the way he gives service by cleaning the class, and such kind of service learning also goes a long way to make him understand of how these small chores are also as important as the big ones. So they inculcate humility. They also inculcate the feeling of service. They also inculcate the feeling that everybody is universally one and not different from each other. So they are not people meant to do a particular task. It is everybody's task and everybody should do it. Now, the next, I would quickly sum up some lessons which I learned from this exercise and this unique opportunity which was given to me. It has helped me to learn some things. So I would simply summarize some of them. The main exercise that I learned is, first of all, for moral education, it is always better to catch them young. The younger the child is, we will be able to emphasize better moral education to that child. The second is the infusion approach, which has really worked, or it has really quite to a great extent, I agree with that, because in some cases when we do things, they directly affect the children. So we should definitely infuse those kind of behavior by first adopting those behaviors ourselves. So when we talk about a school, the school should look what the child should look, or what the teenager we expect should look like. Now, we do have to separate religion from morality. If we take religion in the emphasis, we would infuse a dividing factor which would divide the society, and therefore it would lead somewhere to the disruption of moral behavior instead of increasing it. The next is that the education policy of a country, it should focus on creating more morally correct habits, as we saw in the case of Japan and Singapore. So there were their objectives themselves stated moral objectives first and the rest of the objectives later, which determine the kind of importance they give to moral education. So rather than creating an intelligent terrorist, let us create a good moral citizen. I think that part is to be emphasized. And second, the last point is taken from the Indian, traditional Indian education, the Gurukul system. Spiritual consciousness, acceptance of the world as one and as a family, it is the basic essence of value education. Thus, that aspect should be emphasized and that perspective should be appreciated in moral education. So that is all I have to say. I would request Dr. Asha Gupta to kindly take the session forward.
So at the outset, I will congratulate Gayathri for giving a very beautiful lecture covering many aspects, covering 4 countries, that where the in what way they have taken the moral education, in what way they are trying to imbibe the good values in them, and in what are the ways, tools, techniques they are following. And then she is coming to India and Gurukul system, national education policy, etc. Now here, before I take up the question answer and I say my views, we have got with us Dr. V. Giri, is it not? Who is VK Iyer, VK Iyer, who is construction engineer from Nagpur. Biodata wise, I'm not going to read the biodata. It seems he is a very enlightened citizen, a technocrat, but who is coming to cultural side and aspects. So it is because we are living in this technical world and missing the moral values. So it is good opportunity for us to listen from him what he want to say on this occasion. So I will request Shri VK Iyerji, who is here with us, to share his views on the topic and enlighten the audience. So Shri VK Iyerji.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, thank you very much, the Yuwa Shakti Abhiyan, to invite me to join this very beautiful program, highly educated, and which is need of the hour for our country. I am 76 years of age. As Madam has already told all of you, that I am basically a civil engineer, but I have got a lot of interest towards in the field of education, and even I am known as educationist. I have a lot of contribution in the field of engineering field. At the same time, in other streams also, I have tried to contribute a lot how to improve the present education system, and some of my views have been considered in this recent education policy. Coming back to moral education in India, and when we compared with other countries, as detailed by Mrs. Gayathri, I would like to say that we have not up to the mark in the area of moral education. Even it seems, in the schools, the right importance has not been given to the moral education, and which is very, very essential from the point of view of upcoming students who are expecting to go very high in their respective fields. And I have not prepared myself much, it was all sudden, and I have been requested by Mrs. Gayathri to join this program. So I have my own views on various aspects, In specific, I will be able to tell you, if I am permitted few minutes, I will be able to tell something about, this Canadian Education Society. What exactly they have developed the thing. They say that Institute Industry Linkage Project. What do you mean by institute industry? Whatever the industry need that the educational institution should produce, then only they will be acceptable. It is not exactly happening. The guys graduate, whether it is engineer or any other graduate, when they come out of the institution, they are good for nothing. They don't develop that kind of a confidence during the period of their education. So how to do that? That is something, this Canadian Education Society, it is a non-government organization, and they have tried to work on that. And I was lucky enough to get associated with them, and we tried to introduce the system in various education systems, various educational institutions. I'm sorry, maybe because of age, sometimes I lose my tongue. So if you all will be accepting, or I'm sorry for that. And so that kind of a thing is also very important, along with this emphasis to be given on the moral education. And we should try to produce the right kind of product so that it is acceptable to the various industries. Industry means not only this manufacturing unit. Industry as a whole means all the organizations wherever they need the skilled people, And come back to the presentation of Mrs. Gayathri. It was well educative. She has prepared her well, and I am very happy, the way she has presented the particular topic, and also compared the moral education system in various countries, UAE, USA, Japan, Singapore, and also compared with the present system in India. Thank you. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you for your wise words. Now, from the audience, if there is some question to our resource person, Dr. Gayathri, please ask. Please do ask.
Ma'am?
Yeah, please, Neeru.
Ma'am, this is a kind of questions or kind of discussion, I don't know, but let me just clarify something and then discuss something like.
Sure.
Don't you think in moral education in Indian society and Indian education system should be improved more as compared to other society? We I think we lack so many values, especially when it comes to respecting. Yes, you have mentioned respect the parents, cleanliness, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to respect the women, and then women, and then these things, I think don't you think we should improve this one from the parent side, and then teach our children that you should respect your sisters, women, friends, like that, so that we will have a good moral values when they grow up.
Right. I completely agree with you, Neeru ma'am, that we need some, even though according to the old spiritual wealth that we have, we are spiritually very much ahead of the entire world. But it is quite unfortunate that our young generation does not actually know much about it. Maybe because the education has been seen completely as a money-making business, or as a as a focus on career. So we have only career in mind when we go for education, many of us. So we don't think that these values are equally important in making a all-round personality, and that is also quite important. So first of all, we need to understand the importance of moral education for that. I think only parents should not be blamed, because the child, from the very beginning spends more times in education institutions than at home. So as the child's age grows, if we see a teenager nowadays, the teenager spends more time in the school than at home with his parents. Also, with working parents, it has become more difficult, for the parents to ingrain, or for the parents to inculcate these values. However, having said that, I would say that parents can serve as great examples. We think that children cannot learn moral values from books, unfortunately. Children learn it by examples. When they see their own parents doing certain things, when they see their own teachers doing or learning certain things, or doing particular things in a right way, that is how they learn. So if today's youth doesn't have good moral values, I think we have failed as people to inculcate that in them somewhere. So somewhere we have been wrong, or maybe a major section of our population is, has not been very correct in their own moral behavior, because of which these children are not able to view those things and inculcate those habits in them. So somewhere I think it is our failure also, as teachers, as members of the society, or as parents, whichever way we like to put it in. So we have to, it's a together effort. It cannot be done by just one parent, one family, one society. The child lives in a society. Even if the parent is a good example, it will also look at the teacher. We cannot hide it, or put a parda on the school and just inculcate the things which are taught in the family. The child looks at the school. He goes to a coaching class. He looks even at the coaching class and people in the coaching class. He would look at his friends, the way their mannerisms are. And particularly during teenage, this tendency is highly prevalent. Children look at their counterparts, at their peers, and they learn a lot of things which they might not learn from their parents, because they have very little time with their parents. So as a society, when we improve, it is only then that we can improve morally. So your question is pretty valid. And about the respect of women, I would like to say that women themselves should be empowered first. I think we should respect ourselves first, and then automatically others would be forced to respect us. So when we are the ones, as mothers, we spend time with our children during the during the formative ages of the child. If we teach them to treat, if we treat them equally, if we don't differentiate between our own son and daughter, I think that is where we start talking about gender equity.
Very true.
So that is the first example or first experience that a child has, and then the other experiences. So that if we maintain that sort of a gender equity at home, so slowly and slowly, I think as a society also we can definitely improve in that regard.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Any other question from participants?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I just wanted to go ahead and ask that, we all will agree that there is a lag behind on the moral education in our society, especially in India. So now my question is, right now, what is the thing that we should, as a society, bring up something in the to give this moral education apart from inculcating it, or including it in our curriculum of the schools or something like that? So what is the other thing that we can go ahead and do as a supplement for the society?
Very good question, ma'am. I think apart from including it in the school curriculum, and apart from being an example for the next generation to follow, what we can do is actually take our generation towards the spiritual texts. Let them see our spiritual texts. Let them, now translated versions are available for almost all the spiritual texts that we have. So the Westerners are learning it, and they are imbibing those values in them. It is sad that our own Indian children do not actually go back to those spiritual texts. They don't read the Bhagavad Gita when they are 20. They read it when they are 70, and at that time they cannot change themselves much. So I think such spiritual texts should be introduced to them early in life so that they imbibe these values as they grow. And I think that would go a long way in tuning or attuning the child to what is important in life and how the life should be led. So such kind of texts, be it in any religion or be it in any form, so something which does not advocate religious fanaticism, but at the same time it gives a very good angle to a child. Meditation should be introduced. Most of the bad behavior that we see is due to lack of mental, it's due to some fault in the mental health of the child or lack of mental peace in a child, which has come due to the current situation of competitiveness, cutthroat competition, then, peer pressure and these things. So most of the bad behavior that we see can be controlled by practices such as yoga and meditation. So they should be popularized, and children should be encouraged to take part in such kind of activities, which would enhance their spiritual consciousness. I think that would be a very good way of promoting it, on an individualistic level, but as a measure for a society as a whole.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other question from participants?
Madam, I've been hearing all the talks of, with Gayatri Madam has met. It's a very wonderful talk. But I have a small suggestion. I don't know much about this, but in due course of time, the educational system has changed. And, I agree with you that children cannot learn from this, what you call, moral education from the books. But when we grew up, there was a subject which is called as moral science,
Yes.
which no longer we are able to see in the this academic curriculum of the young children.
Right.
So I think we should have a change in the educational policy for, say, for example, up to 5th class or 6th class, so that the children can be inculcated with these moral values through illustrations and which we have discussed.
Right.
So
Sir,
can that be done through any educational policy which is available right now in India?
Basically, I thank sir for his concern, and I think it's quite a valid concern. We did have moral science, even I have studied it, and we had books for that. But eventually what happens is that we also need practical education in moral science instead of just the theory education. So maybe it would definitely be good if there is a book, but then there should be some activities associated with it as well, so that children do get a real taste of what moral education is. I think at the end of it, we define learning as change in behavior. So if that is the basis of learning. So I think learning, also, if it has to be assessed, it should be assessed by the change in behavior that comes in the child. So that way, I think some activities also would be, if the books would be included, and some activities also would be included in those books for assessment purposes. I think that could be a very great idea, adding to what you said.
Thank you, madam. Yeah, I agree with your.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other participant who want to ask the question? Well, so I think now we can sum up. We have listened Gayatri, and she has talked very beautifully about the perspective as far as the world order is concerned. She has compared the education system in 4 countries, and then how moral education is connected there, how it is imparted there. And then in the last, she has come to India. She has talked about Gurukul system. She has talked about the Kannada poet, and then the perspective, the 5 mantras from it. Very beautifully she has told. And then she is coming, coming to conclusion that, and emphasizing also NEP, National Education Policy, that, and then coming to conclusion that we don't want intelligent terrorists, but we want moral actionists. So very nicely, well said, Gayatri. So let me sum up. There are headlines everywhere about inhuman crime against women and children. Niru talked about, showed her concern about women, respect to women. And we have got in our culture that yatra naryastu pujyante ramante tatra devta. But it seems that it is there only now in scripture, and then it is not seen in true sense in India. Everywhere we are seeing so many heinous crimes against women and children. So this shows that society has driven itself into some chaos, and then therefore it is the question which we have to ask, that whether we have ignored our moral education, our spiritual values which are to be inculcated in the children. And then because I think we have ignored our moral responsibilities over personal pleasure, over personal what to say, greed and other things, which is a personal satisfaction which we are observing in society. So we have to focus more on moral values than on technical values. What we have done, this is the biosphere, very beautiful biosphere, which we have converted into technosphere. We are talking of technical education. We have got Sir Giri, and he is beautifully talking that how it is to we have to do the symbiosis of it. We want technical. We cannot go to UC 18th century status. We want development. We want technical aspects in our, technical education with for our children. But at the same time, we don't want them the robots. We don't want to become the robots. We want in them that honesty. We want in them the humility. We want in them the proper skills. At the same time, they think that everywhere all should be happy. They should think for the welfare of all. So such inculcating such moral values are very important in this world, which we have made in a sort of this biosphere, which we have converted into a sort of technosphere. So what we have to do, with proper reasoning, with proper inculcation of moral values, we have to convert into sort of new sphere. The Russian scientist says, Varnadsky, that we have converted this biosphere into technosphere. Now, by proper reasoning, philosophical values, moral values, we have to convert into new sphere, so that it will be a good and place worth living, because there is only one planet to live for us. And then we have converted by all sort of these technicalities, our greediness, over exploitation of resources, into a mess. So there is a spiritual crisis, and this is the main problem of our time. So we know that education is the process of systematic and purposeful influence on the person and his mental development, so that he gets ready for social and cultural activities. So it leads him to certain direction. And what our scriptures say, sa vidya ya vimuktaye, which makes him free from bondage. Yes, vidya is there. It will prepare you that how you will strive with the world, how you will get your profession, how you will get your skills, you will get your livelihood. All those things are there. How you are, a decent life you should have. But still, you have to see that all are one. The whole family, the word is whole family, which is there in our ancient ideals, Indian ancient idols. Theodore Roosevelt, I will just say, he said, to educate a man in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace to society. So, you see, we have all grown by hearing when we were children. We have seen our nannies and in our home, mother, etc. They used to tell us so many stories related with morals, thirsty crow, then sour grapes, and so on and so forth. And I know that they have what to say, vibrated our mind, and then we still, there is that imprint is there even our mind. So we have not forgotten those stories. And then that values, those values which are taught through those stories, they still remain with us. So Gayatri has rightly said that it is the childhood. Catch them young, she told, catch them young. It's very important that from childhood itself we have to grow in them, inculcate in them the right values, right moral values, because they are so precious to us. They are the future citizens, they are the global citizens. So we have to keep this in mind as teachers and educators, and also as parents. So moral values are a set of principles that guide us throughout our lives, and it is not that it will start at one point of time. family is the first place where we get the education. So it has to start from the family. The parents have to become the role model. The teacher have to become role model. She has told a lot of ways and techniques and tools by which it can be imparted, but we have to become the role model. If there are no role model, they will not adopt these values in their lives. So it is very much important that the moral values, though they will direct us to right path, to the right path, so that we will progress in our lives. And imparting this at very early age is very important, very significant, so that they can distinguish what is right and what is wrong. So this judgment has to come in them, and if this judgment comes in them, then naturally they will follow the right path. So they have to involve, they have to, we have to inculcate in them the right values. And a lot has been taught, because the time is up, so I will not talk much about it, because it will be just the repetition. But those values which are eternal, which are there in different societies, in different cultures, and but they are eternal, universal, and we have to inculcate in our children, because we love them, we have to help them, we have to support them, so that they will come out as shining good citizens, and also they will become global citizens. So they have to attain this virtuous character, right character, if they are able to understand what are these moral values with complete honesty. And for it, it is required that they should have proper mental and moral development as an individual. So this is very much important, that we have to put before them our example. They should be role models, which is now lacking in the society. But we believe that still there are teachers in India, there are parents in India who are keeping this thing in mind and trying to inculcate good values in their children. So let this thing be spread in society, and teachers and parents, they should also monitor the children. They should see what they're reading, what they are understanding, what are their associates, who are their companions, so that we can protect them from bad effects which media is having, and other bad environment is having on them. So we have to take from technical things, good aspects, learn them, communicate them. This whole world has become global village. So all those aspects we have to take, but at the same time, these elders, it is the duty of them to encourage them, appreciate them. If they are showing some good example, Gayatri has said that in school it has to be done, that if they are doing they are participating in some program where they are serving others, where they are doing cleaning of the campus or classroom, they should be appreciated. They should be appreciated. They will feel happy. Their moral will be boosted, and they will take in these values will be inculcated in them. There will be permanent imprint in them, and then it will become their behavior. And if it becomes their behavior, the foundation is let right in the early age, and then right from the home they will learn, in the school they will learn, and it will go on. So in this way, school, colleges, and further, it will be taken to their workplace. So in this way, I think that the problem which we are seeing at present is the lack of positive ideals around us, and then the young generation is not able to catch it. Second thing is that we are seeing the constant deterioration of moral environment is there, and we are seeing when newspapers where and we are watching on television and others, the examples are full. So the constant deterioration of this environment is there. Then there is negative factors like drug addiction is there, or alcoholism is there, or coming to like that bad practices they may follow, because the parents are not able to pay full attention to them. The school is not able, the teachers are not able to monitor them. So that is, I think the society has to think of it, that in what way we have to give the remedy for all these problems. Then also, because they have become, they are using most of the time digital platform, and when they're using most of the time digital platform, there is a lot of negative content in internet, there is a lot of negative content in mass media. So it is our duty to protect our children and to monitor them, so that they will not get into crime, they will not get into cyber crime or some other thing, so they are affected, and then they feel what to say, they will be impacted in the negative way. And then lack of cultural behavior and speech, we see our leaders, how do they talk, how they talk. It's really, it is, we are ashamed that what it is happening on the political scene. So what we see that right from the top to bottom, the things are to be changed. The things are to be, what to say, improved so that we can inculcate in our children, because moral education is a continuous process. And when it is a continuous process, and we understand it begins at home, and it is going to family, society, all around us, and workplace. So we have to see that the morals, they are shown in the life. The role models are there. The teachers, they become role model. The parent, they become role model. The leader, they become role model, so that they are able to imbibe uh, these cultural values, these moral values in themselves. So moral development is very important for formation of the holistic development, for their development of personality. And then with this, I feel that we need that, F. Angel said, we do not dominate over nature. On the contrary, with blood, flesh, and brain belong to nature and exist in its midst. So whatever is there around us, it is impacting us. But the morals, the values which are eternal, which are having universal values, they will always be there. So it, as teachers, as educators, as enlightened persons, as enlightened citizens, it is our duty that we should try to inculcate good values, moral values in our children. So with this, I will again appreciate Dr. Gayatri for giving a very beautiful speech, covering lot of aspect, giving the word perspective, comparing four different countries. And then she has also pointed out how they are differing also, and then how they are imbibing these values. And then Sir Giri, who is here with us. So, sir, I'm also thankful to you. So with this, now I'm handing over to Dr. Neeru. Dr. Neeru,
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, conducting the session. Now I would like to invite Dr. M. Vineshwari Devi to say a word of thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Neeru. Thank you. Honorable guest speaker, Dr. Gayathri Subramaniam Shrinivas Chandrapur, respected Shakti members, and our valued invited guest delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of Yuwa Shakti Abhiyan and entire Shakti team, let me call it a fraternity of perspective of moral education in today's world here together. And on my own behalf, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to Dr. Gayathri Subramaniam Shrinivas Chandrapur, all invitees and all the delegates, and Professor Asal Gupta, President Manipur Shakti, for gracing your important work and sharing with us your findings and opinions today. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for Dr. Gayathri Subramaniam Shrinivas Chandrapura for her explanation of perspective on moral education in today's world by giving insightful knowledge with what is happening around the world and in terms of moral educations. I totally agree that we all should have acquiring moral habits from childhood itself and take care of themselves, which rightly says that if we take care of ourselves, then the society itself will be taken care. In Japan, in one family, every family member can have different religion, but for them, respecting the elders and interacting and learning from each other with good habit is very important, that I have learned. And today, ma'am have also explained, explaining through the Ikigai, and that was very insightful for us. And to be able to distinguish good for bad things is also more important for our development. And yes, it is a need of the hour to understand the value of being resilient to be successful for all the Yuva specialty. So further, we are grateful, and I may like to express our sincere thanks to Doctors Gayathri Subramaniam Shrinivas Chandrapura for such a knowledgeable insight on the perspective on moral education in today's world. I also wish to express my gratitude to all the invitees and Shakti members for providing encouragement and perspective on moral education in today's world. I am also very grateful to Professor Dr. Asa Gupta, President Manipur Shakti, for her analysis of moral education, how we learn through the childhood stories and reminding ourselves that we should be the role model in the family and with our children. We all are inspired by your great works. Last but not least, we thank you for being with us this evening. Been a great pleasure. Thank you so much. Over to Niru.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to ask Professor Asagupta to pronounce a closing prayer.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. With this, I declare today's webinar as closed.